For most of us, we fell in love with cars first. However, we can all agree that motorcycles are a whole other kind of freedom. This is why some motorcycles cost as much or even more than an average car today. If you want to know about the most expensive motorcycles of the 20th century, then sit tight and let's learn together. 1926 Browne Superior SS100. They called this beauty the Rolls-Royce of motorcycles, and you can agree that it was for good reason. The Browne Superior SS100, which was handcrafted in England, was the epitome of luxury and performance for everyone in the 20th century. Every SS100 was tested to exceed 100 miles per hour. That may seem normal today because you see motorcycles with more than that, but it was unheard of back then. The attention to detail that was obvious in the design is one of the reasons the motorcycle was expensive. Each bike was custom built to the buyer's specifications. George Browne himself was meticulous, and every part of the bike screamed quality. Back in the 1930s, this beast cost around 150 pounds. If you try to get an equivalent price to today's monetary strength, you should be considering several $1,000s today. 1939 BMW RS255 Rennsport compressor. The RS255 was that motorcycle you could never find on a showroom floor. It was a factory race car, so each of it that was ever made was tailored to a particular racer. Only a handful of RS255s were ever built, and even fewer of those numbers have survived. The rarity alone makes it a holy grail for collectors. Riding an RS255 compressor wasn't for the faint of heart. The supercharged engine delivered an explosive power band that required exceptional skill to control. Professional racers who rode it often described the experience as thrilling but unforgiving. This was that bike that you respect so much if you ever own it. The RS255 was famously ridden by some of the greatest racers of the time, including George Meyer, who won the 1939 Isle of Man Senior TT with it, making him the first non-British rider to do so. That victory cemented BMW's dominance in motorsport. 1931 Browne Superior BS4. The 1931 Browne Superior BS4 was a motorcycle that was so rare and innovative that it is often referred to as one of the most unique creations of its time. It won't be wrong to call it a trailblazer for other later designs. The BS4 featured a 4-cylinder 747cc engine, which was adapted from an Austin 7 car. Unlike most motorcycles of the time, which had single or twin-cylinder engines, the BS4 stood out with its car engine and gearbox, giving it incredible smoothness and torque for a motorcycle of its era. It also had the swing-arm rear suspension, which was quite unusual too, because that was a feature that was well ahead of its time. And here's the kicker. The BS4 also had 2 rear wheels, connected by a single drive shaft. That's right, a motorcycle with 2 rear wheels. This design gave it remarkable stability and made it a beast on the open road. Only 10 BS4s were ever made, and of those, only 7 are known to exist today. 1912 Henderson 4. The Henderson 4 was the brainchild of brothers Tom and William Henderson. They both founded the Henderson Motor Company in Detroit. The motorcycle was introduced in 1912 as the very first 4-cylinder motorcycle manufactured locally in the United States. The Henderson 4 was powered by a 57 cubic inch inline-4 engine capable of producing approximately 7 horsepower. This was just a great big amount back in the day and thus could hit speeds of 65 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest machines in those days. Out of less than 1,000 Henderson 4s produced in 1912, only a few are left today. That made the model quite popular for long rides and had the ear of police forces, world travelers, and enthusiasts alike. It was famously recorded to have been the motorcycle used by Carl Stearns Clancy, who became the first motorcyclist to ride around the world in 1913. 1915 Cyclone Board Track Racer. It is probably the most famous and sought-after motorcycle of all time. It had quite several revolutionary features, like the Cyclone's overhead cam OHC and a 61 cubic inch 1000cc V-twin engine that made it earn its place in the hearts of motorcycle lovers. This engine could develop the power for a staggering 45 horsepower, allowing the machine to exceed speeds of 100 miles per hour, which at that time was unheard of. It was manufactured by Jorns Motor Manufacturing Company and had been designed especially for the dangerous world of board track racing, popular motorsport in the 1910s and 1920s. It had no brakes according to the standard practice for board track racers, which means it was manufactured for use on board track only. 1907 Harley-Davidson Strap Tank. The 1907 Harley-Davidson Strap Tank is one of the earliest and most significant motorcycles in the history of Harley-Davidson. It It is often considered the genesis of Harley-Davidson because it was the model that showed their innovation, engineering, and vision of what a motorcycle could represent. The strap tank got its name from the distinctive nickel-plated sheath of metal bands, or straps, that secured the bike's fuel and oil tanks to the bike. The strap tank was produced between 1905 and 1908 and was among the first models ever built by Harley-Davidson. A few years later, this would become the biggest motorcycle company in the world. Less than 150 strap tanks were produced in 1907, and only a few are still left. Riders had to pedal manually to start the engine, adjust oil flow while riding, and put up with frequent mechanical quirks. It was not exactly easy, but it was revolutionary. 1939 Crocker Big Tank. The Crocker Motorcycle Company was founded by Albert Crocker in Los Angeles in the 1930s. It was known for how innovative its engineering was and the small number of us that were produced. Each bike was custom built, making every Crocker unique and tailored to its owner's specifications. The Big Tank nickname comes from its larger fuel tank design, introduced in 1939 to provide greater range. The Crocker Big Tank was considered the fastest and most powerful motorcycle of its time. Its custom-built engines often exceeded the advertised 61 cubic inches, with some going as high as 91 cubic inches. Riders who bought these bikes were often thrill seekers or well-off enthusiasts who wanted the very best money could buy. Crocker motorcycles were priced higher than their Harley-Davidson and Indian counterparts, ensuring they were exclusive and appealing to a niche market. Crocker was a small boutique operation, and production halted in 1942 due to World War II and the rising dominance of larger manufacturers. Albert Crocker famously offered a money-back guarantee if his bikes didn't outperform Harley-Davidson's, a testament to their power and reliability. 1937 Crocker Small Tank. A narrow-ranging fuel tank characterized the Crocker Small Tank that was introduced in 1937, which set it apart from the much larger tanks of most earlier models like the Big Tank. Despite the difference, it still had exceptional engineering whose performance would be more associated with speed, power, and quality. The small tank provided a more compact proportion of space, but the same 61 cubic inch 1000cc V-twin engine that made Crockers so well known. It had a twin V engine that was famous for its power and smooth working, giving every rider that real thrill at a ride whether on a road or a racetrack. The careful details by Crocker and the excellent materials made these motorcycles very tough and reliable. In 1937, if you had a Crocker small tank in your possession, then you had one of the very best motorcycles in existence. These bikes were not mass-produced. They were tailor-made for special clients who were interested in the raw speed factor and fine exclusivity. With that powerful V-twin engine, riders were in for touches of smooth acceleration and handling at the turn, with the powerful V-twin engine going to make the Crocker an exhilarating machine both on the open road and on racetracks. If you had the chance to ride any of these motorcycles, which of them would you choose?